Peter Lucas. This is the Niner Fanatic Podcast. Hope everybody had a good Easter weekend. And really, nothing big is happening in the land of the 49ers, but there's always something big happening in the land of the 49ers, even when there's nothing happening. So we're going to get into it today. But first, we got to hit the music.
Ladies and gentlemen,
I'd like to know,
are you ready for start time?
What's going on, y'all? Once again, this is Peter Lucas. I am Peter Lucas. This is the Niner Fanatic Podcast, and I want to say again, Happy Easter to everybody. It was a good weekend for me. It's a good time to be with your families. That's the important part during these holiday weekends. Take advantage, spend that time, and really, like I said, even though there's nothing really to talk about, it's slow news cycle, right? It's so slow of a news cycle right now that Grant Cohn was talking today, was tweeting out stuff about Michael Jordan because he had nothing really. He had nothing else to say. He needed something to talk about. That's how dead this offseason has been. This has been one of the deader off seasons since I've been doing kind of doing the Twitter and content creation thing. But even though it's dead, everybody's going to find a way not to make it dead. And so I think it was Friday it came out, or it might have been Saturday, that, we saw, or it might have been, I think it was Thursday actually, that we saw that first slow-mo video of Trey throwing the ball. And I didn't know at the time that he was actually working out with Pat Mahomes, which, normally, like him throwing in a t-shirt and a hat isn't really news, right? Everybody's working out in the off season, but the reason why it's noteworthy is because he's working out with Pat Mahomes. And we're hoping, I know all 49er fans should be hoping because you should want what's best for this kid, what's best for Trey Lance, and the best thing for him is to be able to be around greatness. And I've said it before in my podcast that Pat Mahomes is the only generational quarterback in this league today. So and Bebop in the house, appreciate you coming through, fam. Absolutely every day, go Niners. And but sorry about that. It's absolutely noteworthy just because we need Pat Mahomes to sprinkle some of that stardust on the Trey Lance and give him a few. I'm sure that they're talking. Hopefully he's asking the right questions, and maybe he can see some of the things that Pat Mahomes does, and not copies, but kind of takes some of those things that he sees, like how he works and how he does certain things, especially throwing the ball, and how he stays loose in games, and takes that part, because I think the leadership aspect of Pat Mahomes Trey could use some of that leadership to rub off on, and I'm sure that's got to be a question that's asked. I would hope he asked that question of, how was it for you coming into a team that was coming off of a playoff? Pat Mahomes came into a team that was successful. It's literally a perfect situation. He's the only person in this league that can talk to Trey about they came in almost a identical situation. you have to think about it because when Pat Mahomes was coming in, he had to sit a year. And when he sat a year, they still made the playoffs. The Chiefs have made the playoffs the last 2 seasons with Alex Smith. So, and the team felt just like with Trey, they felt strong enough about Pat Mahomes to let Alex go, to let Alex Smith go, uh, and and roll with Mahomes. They did it the right way. They did. I will say the Chiefs did it the right way. They let him sit for a year if they felt like he wasn't ready that first year, and just let him sit and glean what he could glean. And but you notice they weren't asking Mahomes to do. Mahomes can run. Mahomes can run, maybe not as fast as Trey, but but it's it's still they didn't ask him to do a bunch of RPOs and QB option stuff. Like that's and I know that that's stuff Shanny wants to do, but they let him go in there and make his mistakes. And that's it. I think that this is a perfect situation for Trey to just ask him, bounce those questions off him. Hey, how was your experience? What do you think that I need to do to take a hold of that locker room? And how was it for you when you had to come in after Alex Smith? And how like he can just bounce all those questions as well as seeing how he throws the ball, watching like obviously he's been working on his delivery, and that's also an aspect of it that I hope Pat can just teach him to be loose. And not when I say teach, it just needs to rub off. He just needs to pay attention and watch how loose Pat Mahomes is goes about his business. Because yeah, it's easy to say that he's loose now after winning 2 Super Bowls, but the reality is Pat Mahomes was loose from the moment he got in. He was loose in college. And so yeah, that's something that Trey absolutely needs to have rub off on him. Those are and trusting what he sees. That's the main thing. Is he needs all those things that Brock Purdy had, which is Brock Purdy didn't have the arm. Brock Purdy didn't have the wheels. He had a little bit of athleticism, but it's nowhere near Trey's. And but the one thing that Brock Purdy had in spades over Trey Lance was the fact that he trusts in what he sees. He makes his read, he trusts it, and he fires it. Was he on time all the time? No, but he still trusted in what he saw and made and did the things that he needed to do to make plays. He wasn't afraid to make a play, and I think Trey can be that guy, but I think he just needs a chance. I just think he needs a chance, and I think he needs to find a way to stay healthy in the Kyle Shanahan offense of risk and reward, because I've said that on my past shows also, is that Shanny's offense is a risk and reward type offense. No longer can we sit here and not blame Shanny for QBs getting hurt. We can't continue to do that, because there's only so much evidence that you can have right in your front of your face that before you have to come around. I was a person that I didn't want to blame Shanny for it, but the more it's just slammed right in front of your face, that it doesn't matter if it looks like it's his fault or not. He's the head coach. Therefore, it falls upon Shanny. We can sit there and say, "Oh, it was his fault. He didn't step up in the pocket. It was Jimmy's fault. He didn't get the ball out quick enough. It was Trey's fault. He didn't hit the right hole, or he didn't learn how to get down." Like we can keep blaming people, but the reality is they keep getting hurt under the head coach's watch. So it's the same way that we blame presidents for gas prices is the same way that Shanny's getting blamed for the QB injuries. Like it doesn't matter if it's your fault or not. Like you're the one. You're the one that is the head coach. Therefore, you're going to shoulder the blame. Now, with that being said, love Shanny to death. But these are the things that he has to clean up. He has to figure a way to get his QB1 through a season. He just does. I don't care what he needs to do that, but he needs to make it happen. And I think he has to know that he needs to make it happen at this point. But that being said, so like the questions that I kind of have is, does this throwing with Pat Mahomes, is that going to help any of his delivery? Is Pat Mahomes going to show him anything like that? I don't think so. I think that Trey has been working on his delivery and kind of tightening up everything, but I think that where Pat, like I said, that where I think Pat Mahomes can help him is by, even though he's got that tight delivery, kind of loosening up as he plays. You see, even Brock Purdy, he plays loose. He plays loose because he has the confidence, because he has the experience, right? So that's where they need to just kind of figure out a way to get Trey to loosen up and just play football. Now, granted, you may say, "Oh, that's easy for you to say." You have that's easy for you to say when he hasn't played, he hasn't gotten the reps. But I think that he needs to just go out there with the mentality that he's not going to make everything so serious and just play football. He knows the playbook at this point. I'm pretty positive. And he just needs to trust in his mechanics, trust in his reads, and just throw the ball. He's gonna make mistakes. Just throw the ball. Let it go. Like, I mean, yeah, I'm not gonna make any corny frozen any frozen comments, but yeah, just let it go, bro. Just let it go. Like that hairline. You need to let it go, bro. Did anybody see that picture? Trey, don't ever let them catch you on camera looking like that. Like that is, come on, bro. Just let it go. Like I learned a long time ago. That I needed to start shaving my head, and it was the best decision that I ever made. You just got to come on home. All right, but can't you know? Another question I want to ask is like so we're talking about him with working out with Pat Mahomes. But now we have to look at, but still fans, and even though it looked good, the throw looked good, his mechanics look good, all that stuff. People right after that, you scroll down to the next comment, it's like, what are the 49ers going to get for Trey Lance? And what can they trade for? What can they trade for? What can they get for him? And I just feel like people need to breathe and but why do fans want to trade Trey Lance so badly? I just, it's a question that I keep asking myself that I don't understand it. After we've been standing there last season and watch all those quarterbacks go down, we're trying to trade Trey Lance and get what exactly? Another draft pick or two draft picks and not know where we're, and yeah, do we need a left tackle? Yes. But sorry about that. Like I've been kind of under the weather all weekend, and I'm just coming back. But the uh the reality is, on as far as Trey Lance goes, is he is he has supremely physically talented. Let this kid go out there, and he's going to be starting the season week 1. I highly doubt that they are going to let Sam Darnold go out there and start week 1. Coming in fresh, doesn't know the system, doesn't know anything. I just don't see it happening. So why do our fans so adamant about trading him? This is, you have to look at it from a standpoint of money. First off, like if they let's say they let Trey go, and what are they going to do? They're going to draft somebody, and you're going to roll with Sam Darnold week 1 because Purdy's not going to be ready. So you're saying you're going to roll with Sam Darnold week 1, and it could be 4 to 5 weeks. So you're going to roll with that over Trey Lance. I just don't understand it. And I was really happy about Sam Darnold coming in to back up, but come on, guys. Come on, guys. It's it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to me. Now it could still happen. I'm not saying it couldn't happen because stranger things have happened, but I don't see a reason to. I don't see a reason to. And Brian Culp in the building, appreciate you coming through, fam. But I don't see a reason for them to trade Trey. I think that you have him on a cheap deal for another, what, 3 seasons, possibly, potentially, like at least two, if not three. Like it just doesn't make sense to just give up on that amount of physical talent. And then you've got Purdy for an extremely cheap deal. So why not just keep them on cheap deals? I think they're both going to be starting caliber quarterbacks, and let them, like Shanny said, let them battle it out. But Trey Lance going to be starting, in my opinion. Trey Lance going to be starting week 1, and that's why they got Sam Darnold to back him up for a week until Purdy gets back. That's my opinion on it. But I question, and my other question about that whole situation is, you know, is there anyone like what do you think we could get for Trey? Like if it does it even make sense? Because people are throwing out their second and fourth round draft pick. If the 49ers did that, that would be malpractice for a guy that's as cheap as Trey for the next 3 years. That is malpractice. That would be a terrible trade because I'm almost guaranteeing he's going to go to another team and he's going to be good. He's going to be good, and people are going to sit there and be like, and then they're going to blame Shanny, and it's going to be a dumpster fire because Purdy, in my opinion, is going to have a hard time staying healthy too. He's gotten hurt twice in his rookie year, one of which was a UCL injury. So to act like, oh, well, Trey gets hurt too much or this, that, and the third, Purdy gets hurt just as much as Trey does. So at what point do we yeah, exactly. You just got to let it go. You got to let it go. That hairline, dog. But like at what point do we sit here and we just say, let it go to the whole Trey Lance trade talks? When do we say to let it go to that? I mean, I get it. We need something to talk about, right? But at the same time, I look at it as it's just not feasible. If from a business standpoint, because I am a businessman, and from a business standpoint, it doesn't make sense. And if anything, I would say that I would try and trade Purdy. That's me, but even then, you're not going to get what you think you're going to get for Purdy because teams know what that is. Teams know what that is, and it's not what 49er fans think it is. Yes, he played well. But I think that you saw down the stretch and into the playoffs that it was starting to get harder and harder for him to do what he was doing, and eventually, you know, that's going to start to tail off. It's not going to be as good. I just think Trey gives you the best shot just because of the ability. But the question is what will we get for Trey in a best case scenario? Do you trade him just for another player? Could you trade him straight up for a I don't know what you would trade him for, a lineman and a pick? Or do you trade him for another quarterback? I heard the talks of him for Lamar Jackson, which they would never do. But this is the stupid thing about that too, is that you're going to trade him for Lamar Jackson and then still have to pay Lamar Jackson. And how do you fit all of that under the cap? I don't know. And sign Nick Bosa at the same time. I don't know how you do that because it wasn't in the 49ers plans. And Parag, everything, the whole cap is planned to the dime. So I yeah, I think that fans need to kind of give a hoosah and figure and kind of think about some of how the money aspect and the business aspect of all of it. But throw 49er throwbacks in the building. Appreciate you coming through. Like always good to see you. And then I see you in the chats of some of the other shows I go in and yeah, appreciate you coming through, man. And but is I want to kind of let's move on from Trey a little bit because I'm finding it harder and harder and harder to make it even sound like it's feasible. I mean, I know Larry Krueger was out there saying that his sources are telling him that he could happen on draft day, but it just sounds silly. It just sounds silly. And I'm going to be the first one to say if it happens on draft day, it's silly. And it might still the 49ers might still do well. I still think it's a silly trade if they do it. That's just me. I think when you have a wealth of riches at the most important spot on the roster, you have to see that through and see who is the one that you want driving the bus for the foreseeable future. I just think that you got to do it. You got an opportunity for a couple of years to be able to see that and for that person to win that job. Like you've got to see that through in just from a business standpoint. So, but is there anybody else that the 49ers could trade to like move up in the draft or to get that tackle that they need, that tackle or that safety that they need? Uh, I heard, and big up to the guys at Locked On. Uh, Big up to Croc and Peacock on Locked On Niners podcast. But they were talking this morning. Oh, I guess it was last night, but I was listening to him this morning talk about brand potential. Like they didn't want to trade Brandon Ayuk, so don't go into their mentions saying that. Oh, Pete Lucas said that you guys are say, are saying that you want to trade Brandon Ayuk. No, they just had a show about potential trades that how that could look, and Peacock said something that was really interesting. Like obviously I don't think that they trade him for any less than this. And Peacock said that he wouldn't take him for any less than the 15th overall pick. And like I kind of agree. Like this is he is to me, he's the 49ers at least wide receiver one. And if you're going to trade him, but this is the thing, I wouldn't trade him either. I wouldn't trade him either. There's really nobody right now that I would trade on the 49ers. I think that you need to see this through and that you need to try what you can to add on with the picks that you got. Now you can use those seventh rounders at the end and maybe a third rounder next year to move up enough to get you a right tackle. But I think, and I know that it's thin. Everybody seems to think that it's thin at safety, but I don't know. There's a couple of guys that I like, and Anthony Johnson. I want to watch more of him, but yeah, JL Skinner is one of those guys that I think is going to be. I'm not quite sure what he's going to be. He looks more. He's his size. He's so big. Like I just feel like he's got to be a box safety, but I'm not quite sure. But there's a few guys. Jordan Battle, uh, Chris Smith. He's kind of small, but man, but he's got athleticism, and there's just a couple of guys in this draft that I think they all have weaknesses. They all have weaknesses. They're not going to be ready out of the box, I don't think. Jamie Robinson is kind of small, kind of small, and kind of. I'd say he's not the fastest. He's just a football player, and but and I but I question people on this because yeah, he's not the fastest, and he's a football player. Who else does that sound like? That sounds like our guy Hafanga. Everybody said coming out, they didn't think he was fast enough to really be a safety. But he's not big enough to be a linebacker. And what were the 49ers going to do with him? Because could they really? They laughed when people laughed when the 49ers were going to put him at strong safety and just start him. They said it wasn't feasible because he can't cover. And this man went out and was an all pro. So I think that this team has a great coaching staff, and that they can do things that other teams just can't do with some of the talent that they bring in. So I think you run with the guys you got. I don't want to trade anybody. That's my personal opinion. I wouldn't trade Brandon Ayuk. If anything, I'm looking in a couple of years when we have to pay Brandon Ayuk, I'm looking to trade in. I know that this might be blasphemous to some, but I'm looking to trade Debo at that point. I think that Brandon Ayuk is for the guys that you have in the building. Eventually, you're going to have a quarterbacks that can take advantage of Brandon Ayuk's ability. Jimmy's no longer in the building. We saw it with Purdy. I think Trey can do the same things. So I think that Brandon Ayuk's stock is about to skyrocket, and I don't, but I think that makes them need what Debo's skill set is a little bit less. Now, can Debo recommit himself to being a receiver and doing more of what he did his first season, which is a lot of the slants? Like remember we were calling him slant god. Like, can he do that? And can he do? So, I mean, he used to do those deep ends and that kind of stuff, and he was good at it. He was even good at the occasional jump ball. People forget, but Debo was not just a wide back. He could catch the ball, but I think he needs to lean more into being a receiver. They don't need him to do those things anymore. I don't think. I think that it was a nice little gimmick when they were doing it, but now it's not necessary. I would rather our running backs take those carries. So so yeah, it's just a little I don't know. I feel like I don't think that they should trade anybody. And I've heard some rumblings about Kittle. Would you trade Kittle? And Kittle brings so much to your team. I don't think that you trade Kittle. He just bring the one. There's one guy. There's one guy that I would, and people might think that this is blasphemous. There's one guy that I might think about trading, and that would be Eric Armstead. People might say that there's dead money there and like that kind of stuff, but I think that he's the only one to me right now that I would consider trading right now. And yeah, Brandon Ayuk, if they came it up to me at offering it, it would have to blow my sock. It wouldn't just be a first round pick. It would have to be another pick with it. So yeah, I don't think that's gonna. I just can't see it. I think whatever pick, if they traded him for one pick, it would be a loss for the 49ers in that trade scenario. So, but yeah, I might trade Eric Armstead though. I don't know what they could get for him. Like I don't know that they could with maybe package him in a pick to move up into the high second or something like that. Because I don't think you could get a first for him. But yeah, like that's the only guy that I see. And but with it being said, what is the priority positions in the draft? And I think I just talked about him. That tackle spot, that right tackle spot, we're all looking at that. It's a glaring hole. McKivitz is not the guy. Let's just be real. Yeah, let's just be real. Like he is not the guy. And they're going to have to shore up that spot, and then as well as the free safety spot. And when I say free safety, because this is the other thing I was thinking about the other day, and the 49ers really kind of historically, now I don't know what our new defensive coordinator is going to want to do, like with his safeties, but before our safeties were a little interchangeable, and they could switch to being to taking that high, to being that high safety. They could switch in historically, but so who's to say that they don't take another guy that's more of a free or more of like just an athletic big guy. Like I don't know. I don't know. That's when I look at JL Skinner. I said, well, maybe and maybe move Hafunga over to that other spot. And people would say, well, he's not fast enough. His instincts. Remember, this guy covered Tyler Lockett in the slot. He has good instincts, and I think he has good coverage ability. He's not the fastest, but with his instincts and his technique, like I think that it's doable. Do I think the 49ers will do that? I'm not sure. I'm not sure because I think they like him in the box and like him using him the way that they did last year. But like I said, Wilkes, we don't know what Wilkes is going to be, and we don't know how he's going to deploy these guys. So I think that there's a lot of questions. There's just a lot of questions. The more I talk about it, there's just a lot of questions about anything could kind of happen. And I think as we get closer to the draft, that's going to be the main talking point is how much we don't know about how this is gonna shake out. And I think there's gonna be some surprises in this draft, not because big guys' names are traded, but just we don't I think we're gonna find out who the 49ers are prioritizing, and more of those, and the how they're gonna solidify certain spots. I think we're going to find out in this draft. So as we get closer and closer, just get ready. Just get ready. And man, it's gonna be awesome. Like it's gonna be must see TV. I'm hoping that I know that Jesse Naylor did him and David Lighty did a draft show, and which was great. If he does another one this year, like you need to watch that, because I know I won't be doing a draft show. So if you're gonna watch anybody's draft show, I would love for, and the Locked On had a great draft show too. But yeah, check out my guy Jesse's draft show if he does one this year, because it was very entertaining last year. And then my guy Niner Nate was on that too. So yeah, make sure you check those guys out. Like, see if they're going to do anything. I know I won't be on for the draft, but if I want you guys to go watch anybody, it'd be those guys. Like, I really appreciate what they do. But but yeah, it's gonna be, get ready. It's gonna be fireworks. It's gonna be fireworks. 49er Twitter is gonna go insane, because the 49ers are gonna do some stuff that nobody thought was coming. It happens every year. So get ready. Get ready. But with that being said, I'm going to get out of here. And yeah, Bebop says, get your popcorn ready. Get your popcorn ready. Get your pom poms. Do whatever you got to do. But yeah, I'm going to get out of here for today. I will be back tomorrow. I think we're going to talk some draft stuff. We're going to get some potential guys at the 40, talk about some potential guys that the 49ers could be looking at, do some talk about a mock draft, and yeah, just come on through. Once again, make sure that you like this video. Make sure that you give me a subscribe. Make sure that you hit the bell for the notifications, but make sure that you just tell a friend to tell a friend, so that we can be friends, and make sure that you guys are joining me every day, every week. I'm steady pumping out this content, and they're just conversations. We want to have conversations, and I want all you guys to come to get active in the chat. Ask your questions. Ask what do you have to come what comes to mind and things that you want to talk about. Let's make this a community. And I appreciate everybody coming through. Bebop, Bryant Culp, 49er throwback. But I'm gonna get out of here. And like I said, uh, make sure that you join me tomorrow for the draft coverage. And as always, go Niners.